Now we're talking about Pochettino in this round of potential Real Madrid coaches, including Arbeloa, which isn't ruled out. But I want to talk to you a bit about Ryan Cherky. Welcome, Madridistas. How are you doing? More than for today's match or his amazing, spectacular goal, it's pretty much anything he does. This guy is spectacular. He has incredible control with both feet. In the goal he scored, that's exactly what stands out the most about this player because he's really good with both. It's not just that he can use his right foot for support. No, he's actually really good with his right foot. And he dribbles with his left foot right before that, then finishes with the other foot. Other players who are only left or right footed would struggle because basically, if you've seen the goal, take another look. I think we can see it here. What he does is spectacular. Let's see if they replay it well here. Look here, I can't show it continuously, as I always tell you. But this cut here and then the next one, so quick in that 1-2 move, so the defender couldn't get there. What an arsenal. Some players feel there isn't enough space to get the shot off, especially with the foot they don't usually shoot with. However, in a very precise way, he ends up beating Raya and scoring the first goal of the match. Just before the 16th minute of the match, Arsenal would tie it up with a huge mistake from Donnarumma. Another mistake like that, practically in the 6-yard box, led to Havertz's goal. Havertz is not a bad striker, but Real Madrid was once interested in him. Often it seems he makes mistakes when he scores. It's kind of like by chance and all that, because at the end of the match, he had a chance, finishing almost alone, but it went over the goal defended by Donnarumma, which would have been the equalizer for an Arsenal that is falling apart. And this is quote-unquote good news for Atletico de Madrid. The current Arsenal is not the same Arsenal that thrashed Atleti, for example, in the Champions League's league phase. And they could lose the Premier League. With City, who have come from behind, what a spectacular comeback. They're so close. Well, they have one game in hand. They're 3 points behind. If they win that game in hand, I think that's right, they would tie. And the goal difference is 37 for Arsenal, 36 for City. But with that game in hand, if they win by a big margin, that's it. So in case of a tie, in that case, City would overtake Arsenal, although there are still some matches left. But anyway, what's my point with all this about Cherky? Well, I'm getting to it, and now to relate it to Madrid. Some might say, damn, is he going to talk about the Premier League now when he never does? No, the thing about Cherky is incredible because he cost City 40 million euros. We often treat millions of euros like pocket change, don't we? But of course, it's not just about the 40 million themselves, but rather what you compare them to. And that's because if we compare it to the 60 also, whether you want to die or not, you want to die. In Ramon's video today, he discussed Victor Munoz and related topics. That Madrid is going to exercise that 8 million euro clause. We'll talk about all that. Although, well, if you want really good information from inside the club, for sure. Ramon, but he was also talking about Nico Paz. If Nico Paz comes, of course, then you've got a lot of players there. Bellingham, Brahim, Nico Paz, Guller, Mastantuono, although it's not the same. Mastantuono is put on the right wing, but, well, Nico Paz can play more in the middle in that role, a little bit as an attacking midfielder or shifted to the right. And I think the most sensible thing would be to loan Mastantuono out and see if the kid is good, since in theory he was supposed to be. PSG wanted him. If Madrid hadn't taken him, PSG would have. It's like City. I mean, if you didn't go after Cherky, a club like City would have taken him, and that's what happened. But the good thing is he gave it, and the kid, he gave it. If you didn't get into the bidding for Cherky, or if Lion got carried away and asked you for 80, 90 million for him, or 100, no, it was 40. City paid 40 for this guy. 40. Anyway, it's true. He's not the same age, even though Cherky is also young. He's not the same age. But of course, if you look at Mastantonu's performance, you say, well, anyway. In that match, by the way, there was an incident, and now we're going to relate it to things from the cup final and the incidents from the cup final. But first, with the complaints from the Narnian fans, from the Barcelona fans, who are saying, how is it possible that what happened in this match, they're telling us about it? That the referee decided in a play with Havertz, that the referee decided this wasn't a foul. And therefore, since he was the last man, it could have been a red card. Look, here they say no, but it's just like the one with Eric Garcia. It's just like the one with Eric Garcia. They say, look, here, do you really compare it to the one with Eric Garcia from the other day? Let me see if I can find it. Hold on. I'm going to see if I can look it up for a moment. I'm not going to prepare it. And I'm sorry, guys, but well, we're live on YouTube. The other day, this thing with Eric Garcia and Sorlos, Eric Garcia started behind Sorlos. There's a big difference between being more or less matched up. Here I have it. You see on X, everything goes so fast. Look, let's compare that one with this one, okay? Although we haven't seen the previous outcome, let's keep moving technologically. Here, Eric Garcia starts behind Sorlos, and what he does here is, first he puts his hand on his back and pushes him once. And when he sees that Sorlos doesn't fall from behind, and also there's a hit below, is it that Sorlos trips over himself? Just like what happened to him with Juliano in the first leg, because Eric Garcia gets very close and makes it so that when a player trips while running, it's because someone else touched him before. But Barca has been awarded penalties like that, like the one against Sevilla when they fouled Cancelo. And here we said it was a penalty. They're absurd penalties, but they're penalties. In that case, it was a penalty. In this one, it's a foul. Not just down below, but there's also a push. He stretches out his arm and pushes the player up top because he's already way behind him. Well, they're comparing that play with this one, man, with this one, with Havertz. Here, there's a situation where they're practically both side by side. The City defender is just a little bit behind and tries to gain position. That's all. Come on, tell me, is it the same to push a guy from behind as just putting your arm there a little bit and then they touch each other down below? Because logically, they're stuck together. Isn't he tripping him up? That without a chance to play the ball, Kusanov, the City defender, is really close to the ball. For me, this can't be a foul. And if it's not a foul, it's not a red card. But the Barca guys are telling you it is compared to other plays. Look at what one of these referee commentators, apparently a former referee or a referee in lower divisions, these referee commentators who are in the media and have their own voice, is saying, he posted it there. Well, that's what it is, from Gol del Demarque, on goal. He replaced Pavel Fernandez, who also appears on Radio Marca, just like Pavel Fernandez on La Ser, who was previously on Radio Marca and on Ser. In any case, they are, let's say, generating opinion about refereeing decisions and controversial incidents in matches. And he says that yesterday's action by Musso on Guedes, that this is a penalty because he says aerial ball into the Atletico area where Guedes heads it, and then Musso hits him with his fists, never touching the ball. It's a penalty. He says, I thought so too. They're kind of silly penalties, but they're penalties. And if the force had been stronger, it could even have been a red card, he said. I compared it to the incident with Fermin and Musso. Fermin had gotten a clean shot off that day, but Musso stopped the ball. If Musso hadn't stopped it against Barca the other day in the second leg of the Champions League quarterfinals, that ball goes in, Musso deflected it, and then it's Fermin who crashes into Musso's leg because he can't bring it down in the air. This one is very different, as we explained in yesterday's video. Here, the goalkeeper never touches the ball and crashes into the player and even leads with his arm, okay? In all of this, you always have to try to be as consistent as possible. Look at what this gentleman thought about this action, which was the one I forgot to show yesterday. No, yesterday I showed this one. There's another with Rayo Vallecano and Barca. I'll check if I have it. And it's that one with the pass from Fer Lopez and the shot by Mingueza. Here, Mingueza got the shot away. He never touched the ball, and Chesney hit Mingueza in the face with his hand. What this referee says is that you can't compare two plays because one is a slap and the other is a punch. Going in with the fist, that's just how goalkeepers play, but the consequence is the same. You don't get to the ball, you hit him with your glove. In your dive, that you hit the player on the head who already finished the play, it's the same thing, but he tells you no. He says no. That day, this guy said, header or ball? Mingueza de Traselo, he's Galician. Chesney hit him in the face with his hand. Residual, keep going. It's just unbelievable. It's incredible. For some of them, it's incidental, but for the others, it isn't. I think we're talking about the same thing here. Just like Bellingham's, With Ramiro, exactly the same. The player arrives, shoots, the goalkeeper can't reach it, and hits him in the face. It's just like what happened with Guedes and Musso yesterday. Well, they tell you that some are incidental and others, wait, hold on, damn it, I'm going to look for it. There's one from Barca with Rayo Vallecano. Let me see if I have it somewhere. Look at this one, this one, this one. Of course, I mean, I had it yesterday. I didn't put it on. This one, John Garcia runs into the Rayo player here. But to be fair, I didn't remember that, actually. The Rayo player hadn't touched the ball. Is this one different? Seeing it now, I remembered it differently. It doesn't seem like a penalty to me. One thing is finishing when the goalkeeper doesn't reach you, and another is when the goalkeeper gets ahead of you. But as a consequence of a play where everyone goes for the ball, people are going to collide. Careful, unless the goalkeeper, in that case, goes in with his legs first or scissors someone or something like that. This is harder for me. But, well, it's consistent with everything we've said. If the player gets his shot off and the goalkeeper doesn't get the ball and wipes him out, it's a clear penalty. What happens is that then there are referee analysts who, well, the archive of X leaves them in a bad spot. And then there are commentators like Gonzalo. Miro says, man, they've created the word residual to call fouls whenever they feel like it. It's wonderful. I love coming across these things. I listened to Tiempo de Juego yesterday. Do you remember when they called us crazy for two things, the residual thing and the frame thing? No, but you Madrid fans see things? No, it's just referee's judgment. It's in the rules. It's VAR. It's scientific. As soon as Barca or Atleti had one or two plays to complain about, they were already talking about VAR, about the frame and the residual incidents. It's happened to us so many times, and we've been saying it for years. Exactly. It's just the same thing. We've been saying that it's the best way to manipulate decisions, using the word residual and saying it's up to interpretation. It's the best way to be biased. Gonzalo Miro is saying it here, but why? He feels his Atletico de Madrid has been wronged. Very simple. That's it. They come to ours, we go with Madrid, and we end up here with Pochettino. Today, Marca published this about Camavinga the other day, when he was shown the second yellow and therefore the red card at the Allianz. They say Camavinga broke down in Munich, unable to stop crying after seeing the red card at the Allianz. When he entered the locker room, his teammates suddenly went silent. When they saw Camavinga, who was completely devastated, Camavinga was just crying inconsolably. It showed a footballer who knew he had made a mistake that defined the knockout round. The pressure has taken its toll on him. His game that was once solid and brilliant before, has become imprecise. Did he really have good spells? Camavinga knows that his name is on the market and that opportunities at a club like Real Madrid are not infinite. Inside the locker room, the group has closed ranks. His teammates tried to be there for him in what is undoubtedly his most delicate moment since he arrived at the club. However, the image of that locker room in Munich with Camavinga in tears has left a mark. Because beyond the result, it hurt to see one of the team's most cheerful players brought low. Well, that's not enough. At Madrid, just being cheerful isn't enough. But anyway, look, kid, Madrid doesn't wait for anyone. Maybe they shouldn't have waited for him. At least that's what they say. Pepe Alvarez says, and it's something that has sparked a lot of discussion this afternoon on X, both him, Camavinga, as well as Asensio, and two more players. He doesn't reveal who they are. Be careful. That's what this man says. And we don't know if his name is Pepe Alvarez. It's a pseudonym, I think. And the thing is that he usually has good information about Madrid, but also some blunders. This has gone on a bit, because of all this insider stuff. Bueno. And even more so when you don't know who they are, they don't even show their faces or use their real names. So yeah, it's tough, really tough. We'll leave it there as something that even others have commented on and said no. Well, yes, it does seem that, in fact, before the trip to Vigo, we're going back quite a few weeks before the trip. That was the match where Madrid, if they drew or lost, would be out of the fight for the league. And now we are. It was the one with Valverde's goal in the last minute. He says Camavinga, Asensio, and two others refused to travel to Vigo, so general management had to intervene. I don't know, but I can believe almost anything about the Real Madrid locker room this season, almost anything. And about Asensio, is there any news? I don't know if it was in that match or another one, but I think it was that one where he played while still injured. And then in the next one, he said um, that he couldn't play. It was even said, I'm talking about Asensio, that it was because the coach, Arbeloa, hadn't really considered the effort he made to play while injured and so on. And from there came that problem for which he had to apologize. And then he was called up to the squad again. Although now Asensio has an issue beyond whether we're talking about him staying on the team or not for this coming year. And it's about that severe gastroenteritis that he just couldn't play. He really couldn't. And it wasn't a lie. It wasn't just another made up story about the player from Madrid's youth academy not playing. He couldn't play, and he could play, and about the parties, etc. Because whenever something like this happens, yes, there's always gastroenteritis involved, right? Well, it seems that no, the situation was serious. It really was gastroenteritis, and well, he was in really bad shape. Um, Asensio's situation is strange, and someday they'll explain what's been happening with him in recent weeks. But the day that Camavinga, Asensio, and two other players, I keep saying that I can believe almost anything, but I believe more that things like that were done to him because we already saw it with Xabi Alonso and with Arbeloa, because Arbeloa, in theory, was better liked in this locker room. And if they did it to Arbeloa, maybe it's because of overconfidence, because Arbeloa won over the players in a different way. Unlike Xabi Alonso, who either won them over or never did, he didn't win over most of them. Which, well, I insist we'll find out, because with these things, you always end up finding out. You put things together not in real time, but after weeks or months have passed. But it always ends up the same, which is that the Real Madrid squad is very difficult to manage. And here we go with Pochettino. This video is a bit longer since there are only two videos today. Well, I wanted to go a little more in depth here. I won't take much longer, but just a bit, mainly to try to get your opinion and for you to leave it in the comments. What do you think about Pochettino for Real Madrid? This is a tweet from Taste Sports from January 2018. Pochettino was coaching Tottenham back then, or maybe he hadn't coached yet. I don't remember. The thing is, Madrid hadn't won their 13th yet, and years have passed, already 8 years. Pochettino has been a long-standing target because back then he said that before coaching Barcelona, he'd rather go back to his farm in Argentina. And so this was quickly interpreted as a nod to Real Madrid and so on. Well, there was always that thing that Florentino liked Pochettino because of his somewhat contrary character. To Barcelona, because he was an elegant, calm guy who did things well and made his teams play well. That Tottenham that reached the 2019 Champions League final was a very good Tottenham, one of the best this club has had in all these years. By the way, there was a year when Tottenham scored against us. We ended up winning that Champions League, but Tottenham beat us 3-0 there, or maybe 3-1 in London, and I think we ended up winning that edition of the Champions League. I can't recall if Pochettino was coaching then. I believe he was coaching the English team. Still, he was always liked. And I think he fits perfectly, not in the role of Xavi Alonso or Ancelotti because of his age, but he's more similar to Ancelotti than to Xavi Alonso or to Arbeloa or to young coaches with a method, modern and all that. Because Florentino is a bit more drawn to, he feels a bit more comfortable with that father figure at the same time, but a coach who is flexible or who isn't going to come in like Klopp and start shouting here. I mean, I think that's kind of how they see him. That doesn't make Pochettino a worse person. I mean, it doesn't make him softer or a pushover, not at all. I don't see him that way, not at all, but I think you understand the differences. And then another contractual thing that really helps is Pochettino coaching the United States national team. A national team that, if they're lucky, I think, let's see, maybe someone listening to me from the United States who is a fan of the American national team will say, no, we're going to go further. With some luck, they'll reach the round of 32, and with even more luck, the round of 16. That's all. I don't think it would be a problem if Madrid comes knocking. Trump cares more about other things and doesn't want these fights, right? I think the North American Federation wouldn't have any problem, man. They're not stupid. They're not taking a guy we've brought in with a name, and we'll see how he does at the World Cup. But if he goes to Madrid, the other guy would be thrilled. So that's much less of a problem than with any other coach you'd have to bring in right now. The names are what they are. Mourinho, who we talked about in the last video, could come. But anyway, Mourinho would be dying to come. You'd be bringing Klopp out of retirement and taking this one from a national team. I won't call him inferior out of respect, but you get my point. I don't think there's a problem, and he'd be happy to come. I'm not sure if you all would like it, but I wouldn't mind. What would bother me is that thing of, look, in the end, he chose to keep going along those same lines of who's in charge here. I'm the one in charge. Florentino Perez, the authority of Real Madrid. When it comes to sports, I make the decisions. Because if I fire you, I'd be left with your player choices if I gave you more power, and that's not the goal. It's simply about making sure that if a player stands up to Pochettino or anyone else, the club supports the coach and not the player. But anyway, let me know what you think in the comments. We'll be back tomorrow with the live broadcast of Arbeloa's press conference. Yes, there are still press conferences. Plus, we're playing against Alaves, and there's one tomorrow. Tomorrow, Monday, starting at 10:30 a.m. Spain time, 6 hours earlier on the East Coast of the United States. And that's it. We'll be there. Thanks, guys. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment, share, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.